time for another round of brandy. Candid conversations over cocktails about all things brand with your hosts, Riley Newman and Scott Saunders, the brand developers behind Motif Brands.
Happy tax day.
Happy tax day.
We just had tax day last week, and so many of you
There's probably a lot of people that aren't. It's not a day to celebrate. I mean, we got a good return, my wife and I, but we also have max taken out.
It's kind of funny because when you do get a return, it's actually your money you're just getting.
It is, and it's funny because I'm basically depositing money in their bank, but I don't get interest on it.
No, but if you're late, they will charge you plenty of interest and payments. They will get you. So actually, on average, in last 2024, 2025, this year, the government collects about like a little over $5 trillion in taxes. So we're talking about taxes, but also what's taxing for a brand. And as we all do, when you pay taxes, it's a premium, and it's on the buyer, the one who's actually paying to actually pay this additional fee that comes along with the purchase. And when you think about your brand or your company, this can happen as well, where you have this additional fee or charge that comes along if you're not doing things right. And that can also be taxing.
When you think of it, it's like, okay, if I say tax is a noun, you think of like a sales tax or federal tax or excise tax or tariffs. I mean, they're taxes. But it's also defined as a noun of being a burdensome demand, an excessive demand, a strain. And that's where we use that word of tax in an adjective form of it's taxing.
Yeah,
it's taxing upon you. It's taxing upon your business. When we're talking about brand and how the wellness of your brand determines the tax you pay, it's how much strain, how much burden you're bearing for your business that burden can be carried on the shoulders of your brand, right, Riley?
Yeah. And so kind of like to Scott's point, like taxes are taxing, right? They're exhausting. It's a burden. It's an added fee. It's something that, hopefully it's going towards good things, or it's justified in some way in kind of how we relate to them. But when you think about your business or your brand, it's like, okay, if my brand's not working for me, then it's most likely working against you, because there is no neutral ground. And so then it is most likely taxing areas of your business. And we have 3 areas that we kind of outlined, but also it's taxing on your brain as the founder or as a marketer trying to help establish the brand, or as a salesperson, or just someone who's just out there working the front desk. There's a taxing or kind of this low, almost like humming sound, this buzzing that's going on in the back of your brain where things just aren't clicking. It's not working like it should. And so then you're distracted by this low humming sound, this taxing kind of burden that's now part of your day-to-day. And any founder would know that, being able to focus is key to actually moving the needle and getting things going and moving in the right direction. So, initially it's kind of like, okay, what are these 3 areas that we're kind of talking about? The first one, it's kind of like a discount tax where you're not able to hold your price because the brand isn't being perceived the way it should. So your pricing power, like we talked about before, it's not holding its ground. It's not established. So you're either having to go, okay, whether it's a sales conversation, you're selling a service and you pitch the price and then it's rejected. So you go, oh, actually we can do it for like 20% less or whatever. In a retail scenario, this would be doing the constant sale, or, oh, it's Black Friday and summer. It's Black Friday in January.
This weekend we're having a 2-for-1 special or something. But that's, again, it's what you're signaling is that your current position in the market is not good enough. And when you start discounting your products, your services, your price point, for short term, one term, as soon as the word discount, sale, flash sale, anything else is thrown out in your messaging with your brand, you've lowered the status of your brand. You've lowered the chances of you netting the type of customer that maybe you're probably trying to get for, right? Because as you grow, you'd love to increase your price. I mean, that's what, brands that grow over time and become more exclusive or more luxury or whatever, or consider the top of the line. Take any product, a type of product on a shelf. It could be a box of cereal. It could be, wrenches. And the more the brand is revered, the price point goes up. And that's natural in anything. So to be the best, you also want to be the most expensive, kind of, for the most part. That's one of the things that can signal how price can signal and work with your brand. But as soon as you start putting something on sale, showing it, you're signaling something else.
Yeah, and David Ogilvy has a great quote where I think he said something to the fact of any fool can lower a price. And it's a Band-Aid solution to a deeper rooted, really kind of issue going on with the company, and going, no, and again, it's like not like, okay, so you have to be the luxury brand. No, that's not the point. That's not what we're saying. Is like you can charge a fair amount and still bake in your profitability and everything. That's what Mike Michalowicz writes about in Profit First, is that, very, very quickly, he essentially goes, oh, we need to invert the model. Instead of you have your business revenue come in, you subtract your expenses, and then what's left is profit. You need to reverse that, where you go, this is my business revenue, and this is the profit that I need to hit within that. If your expenses can't be covered with the remainder of that, you got to figure out your expenses. You're doing something wrong. And again, you start with a reasonable profitability or a margin in that, and then you work backwards. It's like reverse engineering. And so if you've done business 101 classes, that's what you've been taught, is that, profitability is what's left over. And sometimes that is the case, but really when you're thinking about, in this instance, it's like, no, let's secure the profitability, because that's what's going to drive the business forward and actually secure the brand to be able to be established and have that pricing.
Because part of that profit is you're planning on putting it back into the business, allowing it to grow. If you're not making that threshold, if you're barely getting by, then you're not going to take extra and reinvest it back in the business.
Yeah, and most likely you're overstaffed, or you have way too big of a store footprint or something like that, where you were convinced this is what growth looks like, or this is what a successful business looks like. And frankly, all those are fallacies. So moving on to the second one.
So that the first one is discount tax. So that's
do not discount.
Yeah, don't if at all possible. That's really, it's hard to say though, because hypothetically, I'm just going to end on this note. Like you could have a luxury brand, let's say a luxury apparel brand, right? Some of the ones on, and they still might have a clearance
or an
section, outlet. but the frame is that these are the last of something before it's gone. So it's a way to signal that whatever they price it at, it may not be that much, but that can work. But it's when everything or some of your most premium, most common products are being shouted out that, hey, buy them now because they're being discounted. That's the type of stuff that, there's place for, I think. No, you disagree?
I would argue that
Okay.
even if someone goes, well, you have the Nike outlet store and you have Ralph Lauren has an outlet store or anything like that. It's like, well, the whole point of that is that you're basing that off fashion world, where fashion has seasons. So your trade-off by getting a deal is actually you're sacrificing the seasonal trend.
Well, that's
right?
true.
There's dynamics
That's
to
true.
it that are changing, versus if you're selling the same service or offering or whatever it is, you cannot reduce the price unless you subtract from the offering.
Yeah.
And that's established. You can't offer someone the same package and go, okay, it's just cheaper.
Yeah, because most of the time, the sites that are flashing in my mind that do have, like, you go online and they're not cheap products. You're right. It's either like something like technology is advanced enough, so this is now more of this is the older model, so they're going to be letting those go. But typically constants, those are the things that absolutely, I agree with you.
So number 2 of the tax, effort tax. What does that mean?
When you are doing so much, trying to run the business, get your product, sell your product, market yourself or your business, you're doing the job of the brand. And there is burdens, taxes that the brand can carry for you. Because when your brand is fine-tuned, when your brand is strategically built, when your brand is consistent and creative and concise, then that is doing all the work and taking that burden off your shoulders.
Right. And if you think about it, it's almost like, because brand to me if brand is this vehicle that holds all these things, right? Reputation, perception, even pricing, signaling, value signaling, all that
market
kind of stuff.
definition,
right? And distinction, all these things. It's like that vehicle. If that thing can pull up before your sales team or your marketing team starts doing their shtick, it's like you're priming the pump before. And I think that's something that's very crucial, because it's like when people say, oh, your reputation precedes you, or when you meet someone and they go, oh, I've heard so much about you, right? The pump's already primed. And so they are already, it's not
you're not spending time introducing yourself.
Hi, I'm blah, blah, and oh yeah, I do this, and I got my certificate in this, and yada, yada, yada. And it's like this whole spiel. It's like, that's what you see in amateur or newbies who are coming to an industry, or they got a new job for the first time, and they're trying to prove themselves. And frankly, they're just way too thirsty, and they're trying to like really go after this. And it's like, no, the brand should be able to kind of very, gently and quietly kind of lay the groundwork before, right? They should be a little aware of it and go, oh yeah, it's interesting. Oh, the brand gives this presence or this air and this essence that then helps kind of set the tone of how then your sales team or marketing or wherever it could be is then kind of following that suit. So it helps on that front. And like, I like Scott said, it carries that burden. The vehicle of brand is able to help support that taxing burden of doing all of that legwork and really kind of proving yourself or setting up that reputation.
You're signaling what you should be signaling. And that's where the power of your brand, visually, in messaging, in color palette, whatever it is, it's consistent, it's throughout. It's just well put together and accurate to represent you, and more importantly, accurate to represent the type of audience that you're going for, not necessarily who you currently have. And we always stress that too, is that as your brand evolves and shapes, and as you're kind of like, it's with clay in your hands and you're molding it and shaping it, be mindful you're not just trying to attract the people that currently, in your closest proximity. You want to be building outward.
And a good example of that is like, if you were, okay, the sales team's going into this boardroom to pitch some concept or offering, and the brand is very lackluster or non-existent, and then the sales team hits the prospect with a dollar sign or multiple dollar signs, and they fall out of their chairs because they're like, oh my gosh, that's like way too much. There's a problem there, because the brand, just the presence of the brand should kind of signal, hey, this is going to be like $3 signs or maybe $2 signs. Like, it should kind of almost set the tone and kind of set the temperature of where we talking ballpark wise, right, for numbers. And that, like, when you do work with someone who looks like $1 sign versus $3 signs, or you go to a restaurant that looks like a $4 sign versus a $1 sign, there's a big difference.
And it's more about too, and that's more of the sales approach too with the brand, is that it's not about just presenting a $4 sign product or service. It is presenting a $4 or $5 solution.
So these kind of do connect and maybe a little aligned with the third one, which is the churn tax. And this really comes down to your churning. And this actually, if you think
like
about
butter,
membership,
like making butter,
you churn, your churn's too high, or making ice cream.
But yeah, that it's
making
like
butter.
churning like they used to do when they make butter.
You hear this term with like memberships and subscriptions where they have a churn rate, and that's people, canceling their membership or anything like that. And so if you have, like we talked about before, is having lifetime value with clients and having customers and clients who return or at least share you with other friends and family that are related to kind of same value system and everything, and they want to buy from you. So this is like you're getting people who either don't care too much, so they're not going to stick around. They won't refer you. You might cut them a deal or do a sale, and that draws them in, and they buy, and then they bounce. And so that's a churn problem, because you don't actually have that relationship being kind of rooted, and they don't care any more than just they may have gotten a good deal, or you might have been the only option.
Right. And I love that you stress too, you're like, well, a lifetime customer. The person's just like, yeah, but I want to provide something that has a lifetime guarantee. I'm selling something that's got a lifetime guarantee, and therefore I don't plan on having the sale. Then your brand is signaling to that person that you will have a repeat sale. It just won't be with that specific customer. It'll be with someone that's connected with them, because now they're sold on the brand, and they may not be coming back, but they are going to preach your brand to others, and you could get 3 or 4 repeat customers with one customer.
Yeah.
So that's where the mentality is just because you don't, your service or your product isn't supposed to have recurrence. It doesn't mean that the brand can't signal that it doesn't mean you don't have the brand signal that there should be a reason to come back, even though if there isn't, because that's going to motivate them, when they come into a friend that has needs the same solution or is shopping around, whatever, they are going to say, hey, you got to try this.
Yeah. And so I think this kind of does play into the role of the brand of creating that connection. Like we always talk about is that business is transactional and brand is relational. And so if there is no relational aspect to it, then that tax, that burden falls completely on the business transactional side where the person has zero connection to the company. They really don't care if you're around in a couple of years. They just bought that from you and that was a done deal. That's kind of like what you see on Amazon and stuff. Sometimes you just buy things and you're like, I have no idea where this is coming from. And then it shows up and it says made in China. And then
I seriously think that because you see all the company names, I think they all come from the same company.
Probably.
They self-compete. They all have the same price. Maybe they're competing 50 cents from each other, on Amazon or something like, but it's all, the pictures are all the same, the exact same product. There's always,
no idea where it comes from.
But I'm like, how come? Yeah.
But it's a good deal and it gets there in 2 days, right? So that's kind of the trade-off, right? That's transactional. That's convenience. That's transactional. So I would say brand helps alleviate all these areas and takes on the burden and actually helps kind of evade some of these burdens and taxes. Not talking about tax evasion, but the evasion of these taxes of going.
I don't know. Riley and Scott told me specifically to evade my taxes. No, your brand tax, your business tax,
discount
your brand
tax,
taxes,
effort
not
tax,
your actual
churn tax.
Please, hopefully you've already filed.
Yeah, file your taxes and just keep making more money and doing these things so you do make more money and you have profit to put away money for the taxes. Yeah. The more taxes you pay, it's kind of good because you're going to be generating more money. And so these things will help you do that. And it's it's kind of twofold where it's like, okay, you do want these taxes, right? You do want to be able to manage and handle these things like the discount tax, the effort tax, the churn tax, because they do have a positive side to them if the brand is able to manage them and correct them. So we're kind of working as your CPAs today or your tax strategists.
Well, and hey, to be honest with you, we if you missed our last episode, right, we have a simple form for you to take kind of a self-evaluation test. We don't get any of the data. We don't ask for anything. You could use fictitious. It's very simple. Just check out our last podcast because it's a freebie out there that we're shooting out there. No, we're not data mining or anything. So if that's something that you just want to do a wellness check and you're just tuning in maybe for the first time, then go back to our last episode and the link will be in the description.
Yeah, no, definitely. And again, if you have any questions, you can reach out to us, but just something to think about, as we're talking about taxes and taxing and even things maybe taxing on the back of your mind or keeping you up at night. It's just kind of time to think about those three areas. So really think about the discount tax, the effort tax, and the churn tax and how you might be experiencing some of those or having symptoms of those. But
great points.
Yeah, we appreciate you taking the time to listen.
Yep.
And until next time,
cheers.